Hawaii project. I'm also the front-end developer, the back-end developer, the VP of marketing, and the janitor. It's just me. Everybody has their happy place to go to when they need to recharge their batteries. For me, it's on the beach with a great book, and hence the name of the Hawaii project. But when it comes time to find that book, it actually can really be kind of a challenge. You know, the indie publishing revolution has created a tidal wave of books. There's 5 times as many books published now as there were 6 or 7 years ago. You know, who has time to keep up with all that? I didn't, but I wanted to. So what I built is something that crawls the internet, crawls a selected set of the internet about high quality books. So everything from the New York Times Review of Books to the Huffington Post to, you know, niche book blogs about medieval history and politics and science, and it figures out what books are being written about. And then what I do is I take that and I learn about you, what you like, what are your interests? Do you like to hike? Do you like jazz? What do you like? What authors do you love? What books have you read? And every night I put all that in the hopper and I smash it together, and out pop some really interesting book recommendations. I'll show it to you in just a minute. Very briefly, the business model is freemium, so the recommendations are free. Basic accounts are free. There's a paid account that gets you advanced features and higher account limits and some other things, but basic accounts are free. The last thing I'll say about the business model is I really do believe books change people's lives, and so I take 10% of all the revenue that I make from this and donate it to 3 literacy nonprofits that I work with. So I really think it's important to promote literacy. I guess one other thing about the business model, I have licensed this to 1 library, and I might do more, but that's not really from a business model perspective where I'm going. So I'm just going to tour around the site for just a minute and just kind of orient you to the site, and then I'm going to go through the process of setting it up. So does this anyone know what you had before? Okay. Because I was signed in on them. Browser wars. So these are my recommendations for today, and they're maybe not all that meaningful to you because you're not interested in what I'm interested in necessarily, but what we're looking at are my picks. So this is an interesting book, and you can see that it was actually written about on a website. It's kind of a small website. It's a website that specializes in military fiction, and you can see the article that produced this book right here. I can click into this book and learn more about this book if I want to. Obviously, I can read the description. I can see some other articles that mention this book, so I might just, if I want a little more perspective on this, I can click into it. And this is the article that produced that book, and I've actually detected all the books that are mentioned in this article. So here is this book, The Longest Night, but it's also mentioned a couple of other books. So Dennis Johnson wrote a great book about Vietnam, Matter and Horde about Vietnam, all sort of topically related. So I can actually semantically connect books that are mentioned in different places. And so if you're interested in Tree of Smoke, or you read Tree of Smoke, I might recommend The Longest Night to you because they're related. I can also, because I can aggregate up all that information, actually can sort of computationally compute the bestsellers. So I can tell you what books are sort of trending in the blogosphere. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now about Game of Thrones. Unsurprisingly, there sort of always is. Any Game of Thrones fans here? Did you see the news that the book is not going to come out in time for the TV series? And anyway, so all that's related. I don't know if I'm going to have time to set something up, but I'm going to try and get through it. I got 60 seconds I probably won't, but basically what you do is you say, this is what I'm interested in. I like thrillers, or I like literary fiction, or I like whatever. You tell me all that stuff, and then what I'll do is, in addition to the website, every few days I'll drop you an email with some interesting books. And so here's my recommendations from a few days ago. I like Bernard Cornwell, he's putting out a new book. And so you get those alerts. You don't have to go looking for this stuff, it'll come to you. I mean, that's the problem with Amazon and Goodreads is they're just sitting there waiting for you to show up and you forget. I'll bring you this stuff. I'll know what you're interested in and I'll bring it to you. So Questions? Yes?
I'm wondering how do you do recommendations?
Could you speak up a little?
I'm wondering how do you do recommendations?
It's less about machine learning and more about matching. So I can tell what the book is about because I have a lot of book metadata. I know where the book occurred, so if the book's being written about by the Huffington Post, for example, that tells me something about that book. And then I look at your behavioral patterns. You tell me what books you've read, what authors you like, and I match those together. Yes? I don't have a place where you can tell me you hate a book. I only have a place where you can tell me you love a book. So it's all sort of positively oriented rather than negatively oriented. You can't ban a book. If I keep showing you, To Kill a Mockingbird and you're tired of looking at it, you can say go away, don't come back again. More questions? Yes? I don't, but I get that request a lot actually, and I really want to do it because I think it's a whole another dimension of sort of, book experiences, audiobooks, and there's a lot of free audiobooks out there, and so I think there's something interesting to do there, but I haven't had time to do it yet. Yes, on the stairs.
Where do you get your metadata from?
Mostly I get it from Amazon. I get a little bit from, there's an operation called Open Library, which is part of the Internet Archive, so I get some metadata from there, but actually for you computer science types, books metadata is an incredible disaster. It's really a problem. So I actually spend a lot of time creating my own metadata, my own categorization. Any other questions? Yes?
Have you thought about going to publishers or marketing this in some way as a brokerage for their books?
Yeah, I have. I have talked to some publishers. When you do a consumer business, there's this sort of chicken and egg of, if you have an audience, you can get the publisher's attention. Or if you have the publisher's attention, you can get an audience. My audience is not yet big enough, but I think when it does get bigger, I have had success with libraries because libraries are trying to push reading, and a lot of the tools for exploration and discovery in libraries is pretty bad. But publishers is interesting. Did you have a question? Any other questions?
So there is a question about sentiment analysis, and I think you may have gave a longer right to negative review of a book, and if not, do you take that into consideration?
Gotcha. I don't today. I mostly capture sort of mentions of a book. But what you find is that people who write long-form content in the New York Times review of books, even if it's a negative review, it's an important data point. Like, they're not writing about crappy books, So people who write long-form content are generally writing about a book either because they liked it or because it's important. You may not want to read whatever, George W. Bush's biography. You may not like him, but his book is still important. And so I think the sentiment is less important in a lot of the bigger publications because whatever they're writing about is news, good or bad. Yes?
How far are you away of making this kind of Wikipedia style, opening this up for user content so that people review books on your behalf for the community?
I struggle with that because I think I could do it pretty easily. There's less signal, less information. When somebody just goes on Amazon and says, "Oh, that's a 5-star book," right? That it doesn't cost them anything to do that, and so the value of that information I think is lower. Where if someone takes the time to write a blog post about a book, that book meant something to them. So I've shied away from that user-generated content, but it's something I wrestle with because people want to do it. People want to express themselves. So. That's a good question. Yes? It generally manifests by virtue of the authors that you like. So, people who like Murakami tend to like other authors who tend to write in that kind of a style. But I haven't done any linguistic analysis of the writing itself, but that would be interesting. It's hard to get the full text of most novels, though. It's all pretty controlled. But that's a good question. It would be fun. I think think I'll stop there. There's some free bookmarks running around. They were right over there, but if you're a reader and you love books and you want a free bookmark, they're running around somewhere. So please pick them up so I don't have to take them home. Thank you very much.